Okay.
Jr. I've said it on podcasts, on news programs, and frankly, all over social media. I know many who support his message are frustrated with our healthcare system.
Ooh, his what? What did he say? It sounded like he was trying to say message, but he said message. Vaxxed?
All over social media. I know many who support his message are frustrated with our healthcare system, with our lack of clear answers to some hard questions, with our poor communication and guidance throughout the pandemic. Know that I hear you and actually agree with you. We need to do better, and change can't come soon enough. We certainly need to be skeptical of our institutions, but healthy scientific skepticism means following data, not cherry picking it or making it up.
Oh my God.
Now, before we fact check some of the more extreme examples of misinformation, I want to show you who RFK Jr. really is, what he stands for, and why, despite some of his ideas sounding good, he's incredibly dangerous to public health. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy. He first became popular in the 1990s as an attorney suing factories that were dumping pollution into New York's Hudson River. Good stuff. However, in 2005, he began his public crusade against mercury and vaccines, and eventually joining the team at World Mercury Project.
Imagine imagine dedicating your life to fighting mercury, and Pluto's the thing that loses its planetary status. Yikes.
In 2015, which abruptly changed its name to Children's Health Defense in 2018, where he served as chairman and sold shirts with this slogan. In 2023, he jumped into the presidential race as a Democrat, but when that didn't work out, he swapped to independent. And when that didn't work out, he dropped out and backed Republican Donald Trump in hopes of securing a cabinet position. I highlight this only to show that this issue isn't left, right, or center. It's simply about telling the truth and getting accurate health information to you. Shortly after Trump took office, he assigned Kennedy to fix our healthcare system.
I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines.
But he still needed to be confirmed.
You know what I just realized? You know how you're like sitting and fucking... You know how you're in English class and you're like, because you are not merry, and 'twere as easy for you to laugh and leap and say you are merry, because you are not sad, now by two-headed and then you're like, this doesn't make sense, teacher. I don't get this. It sounds stupid. And they're like, listen, okay, you don't understand. Back then, they could speak correctly, all right? They did the iambic pentameter, and they were emoting the lines and the vocabulary. You had to be there. You had to hear it. You had to hear it, okay? So you're just gonna read it now and you're gonna appreciate it. I feel like going through Trump speeches is gonna be the same shit, where they're gonna, like, MAGA kids are gonna be in class like, Mom, what did it mean when he said this? I hope so. I hope so, because if Mike Pence does the right thing, we win the election. All he has to do, this is from the number one, or certainly one of the top constitutional lawyers in our country. He has the absolute right to do it. We're supposed to protect our country, support our Constitution, and protect our Constitution. States want to revote. The states got defrauded. They were given false information. They voted on it. Now they want to recertify. They want it back. Like, what, when he said this, like, what exactly did he mean? What was he, this is actually, and this is like, it's a speech, so it's even more coherent than normal, but like, the MAGA parents are like, listen, on paper, it's not the same. You had to listen to him speak. You had to be there, okay? It was magical.
Confirmed by the US Senate. During that process, he stated over and over that he is not anti-vaccine.
I am not anti-vaccine. I have never been anti-vax.
And if we listen to some of his previous statements from 2014, it might seem like he was telling the truth.
I am very pro-vaccine. I have 6 children. I had all 6.
He should have just lied and said he's vaccine injured. Why would he make up the brainworm thing? The one girl did it. And he's got a legitimate like thing, so he could even like be more successful with it. He'd just say, I'm vaxxed.
my children vaccinated. I believe that vaccines are critical to public health, that vaccines have saved hundreds of millions of lives, and they save millions of lives every year. And they've succeeded in eradicating or nearly eradicating many of these epidemic illnesses.
Sorry, hold on. That's another good one. There's so many good memes on Twitter today. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, my God. Fuck.
In fact, at the time, his focus was mostly on mercury, and he was honest about his lack of knowledge about vaccines.
I know very little about vaccines. What I know a lot about is mercury.
However, now it's 2025, and we have a decade's worth of proof that RFK Jr. is, in fact, anti-vaccine.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
Remember how he just said his kids are vaccinated and he's pro-vaccine? Well, he said this in 2020.
If your kids were young,
Damn, he looked way different. I'm sorry.
Now-
My bad.
would you give them the measles, the mumps vaccine?
No.
In fact, I don't understand how what he's doing is not perjury. I thought you
True.
weren't allowed to lie to Congress.
I have never told the public avoid vaccination.
I see somebody on a hiking trail carrying a little baby, and I say to them, better not get them vaccinated.
He really believes kids who get
Well, that's not the public. That's just, maybe he saw a pre-existing condition for why that baby shouldn't be vaccinated.
even 1 to 2 vaccines are not as bright as those who are unvaccinated.
If you've ever compared an unvaccinated kid to a vaccinated kid, you see the bright eyes and the engagement and the social interactions and the curiosity and the affection and you compare them. The child even had 1 or 2 vaccines and they're completely different.
What is he even saying? What's that one? This is the FF vaccine. It's for frowny face. This is the one that takes away all of your child's smiles. Oh my God. And then, what's this one? This is the NL vaccine, the no laughter. This makes it so your child is no longer able to giggle with joy whenever he sees you. Oh my God. And what's that one? Written in Japanese? That's the slanted eyes vaccine. This one makes it so your child's eyes are no longer able to open and stare at you with happiness and joy. What the fuck is he even I've never even heard this speech before. What the fuck is this? What is he? I don't know. I don't care. Never mind.
So the curiosity and the affection and
Okay. Here's the reality. If you were truly a vaccine conspiracy theorist, shouldn't you take every vaccine? Because think about it. Here's what I would do. If I was like a vaccine government deep state guy, what I would do is I would make a fake vaccine to give to all of society, and then I would make a disease that kills everybody that doesn't get my fake vaccine. That would be the conspiracy, right? And so that way the only people left are the sheep that are following me, that are willing to do whatever I say. Why would you have a conspiracy to kill all the people that are dumb enough to buy all of your shit? Why would you do this? Like, if I was doing fake vaccines, it would be like TRT and like some levitation and ESP ability. Why would you give fake vaccines and kill all of your customers? Never mind. I don't know. Don't care. Whatever.
you compare them. The child even had 1 or 2 vaccines, and they're completely different.
Even in a more dark analogy, he compares modern doctors to Nazis for vaccinating children.
To me, this is like Nazi death camp. I mean, what happened to these kids? I can't tell you why somebody would do something like that. I can't tell you why ordinary Germans participated in the Holocaust. I can't tell you what was going on in their minds, what justifications they used.
Despite all that being
Wait, what? What is this comparison? Okay, hold on. We're always told that he had brainworms. Okay. Who was I debating? Or who did I watch have a debate? This wasn't my debate, was it? I was watching somebody else's, right? Who was it where somebody was this Kyla debating? Where she asked a question and she was like, how how many of these things are there? And the guy was like 3. And then she's like, no, there are 4. And the guy's like, well, yes, but that means there are also 3, right? It's like, like he was a fucking computer or whatever. Like, wait, I mean, that's true, but not just like, you know how we say that he had brainworms? Does he still have them? Do we have any evidence that they are gone? What if he has like a fucking anti-vaxxer, like Ratatouille in there, and it's just like doing crazy shit? I'm just saying. I'm just asking questions here, okay?
What was going on in their minds, what justifications they used.
Despite all that being widely available, he was confirmed in February 2025 as the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, putting him in charge of some of the most important health agencies like the CDC, FDA, and NIH. And despite all his advocacy against vaccines, that vaccinated children are no longer bright, that doctors are basically Nazis, that he would happily go back and not vaccinate his own kids, he is now back to saying,
The best way to prevent the spread of measles is through vaccination. We urge people to get their MMR vaccines.
It seems RFK swaps his position on vaccines whenever he sees fit. Ironic, because many criticize the CDC for changing their medical guidance. But at least that's done in response to new...
Oh, that's true. Remember the fucking... Bro, Fauci changing his position on masks was like fucking 9/11 for conservative trust on everything. Like, Fauci is literally the 2021 version of MK Ultra to conservatives, where it was like they experimented on America. You think Tuskegee was bad? You should have seen when they told Americans not to buy masks because they thought we were going to buy all of them. And so instead we bought all the toilet paper. That's when shit was really fucked up in society.
Scientific data. Now with him at the helm of the world's most prestigious medical entity, I think it's more important than ever to fact check some of the worst myths he's propagated.
I don't think there's any scientific question that vaccines cause autism if you actually read the science.
If you read the science, and the science is very clear on this, that there is no causal link between autism and vaccines. And there's been many studies that have looked at millions of children, comparing children who have been vaccinated versus those who haven't been vaccinated, and have seen that there is no causal link. When I was doing my debate with vaccine skeptics, one of the participants said that's because the people looking at it are part of the corrupt American capitalist.
This is just such a... I'm sorry, but Kyla was just outclassed here. She just was not ready for this advanced logic.
If you want...
No, I'm not. I'm telling you the history of the movement, which you don't even know about.
I've asked you to define feminism, and now
I'm giving you the history of that movement, which is 3 waves. Are there 3 waves of feminism?
Why can't you give me a definition?
Are there 3 waves of feminism?
There's 4.
Okay, so there's 3.
Oh, you didn't know that. That's crazy.
So there are 3, correct?
There's 4.
Right, but that would mean there's also 3, even though...
It's like a riddle or like a joke where it's like a perfect, like it's a joke that starts like a perfect logistician like walks into a bar or something, and then somebody asks a question and they're like, yes. Or it's, what is the wife asks programmer husband go shopping. There's like there's an old joke or whatever. I need butter, sugar, and cooking oil. Also get a loaf of bread, and if they have eggs, get 6. The husband returns with the butter, sugar, and cooking oil, as well as 6 loaves of bread. The wife asks, why the hell did you get 6 loaves of bread? To which the husband replies, they had eggs. They have eggs, get 6 loaves of bread. It's not really a programmer, but it's just, I'm sorry. This guy is actually a fucking psychological terrorist.
System. But then the research that was done on over 500,000 children in Denmark, which has nothing to do with the US capitalistic system, also found the same exact result. This is because there is no causal link.
I haven't heard him talk about these studies, but I will say that for studying autism, generally your research in, I would say, Southern Europe and probably the United States and Canada is going to be pretty high quality. You can't really study links to autism in Scandinavia because it's very hard to distinguish an autistic person from just an ordinary Scandinavian citizen. So careful for that research. That's my last one for today. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not going to talk anymore. My voice is dying.
The only link between autism and vaccines that exists is that the timelines sort of match up from a correlation standpoint. And just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean they caused one another. The same way that we could look at this picture, or we could look at the trending graph of organic food sales. It's important to study and see if there is causation. And when it comes to vaccines and autism, there is no causation. And I have to say that over and over again, that this has been proven internationally, millions of children tested to this, and this needs to be put to bed.
Because the MMR vaccine contains a lot of aborted fetus debris and DNA particles.
Like, what is the... I'm just like, this is what I would want to ask. Maybe he even has an answer, but like, can you walk me through the manufacturing process where aborted fetus debris is ending up in all these vaccines? Can you just like walk me through this? Is it like a chicken nugget factory where they just like throw the aborted babies and they like reconstitute them into vaccine? Like, can you just explain that to me, please?
The problem with making statements like there's fetal debris in a vaccine is that it's just factually untrue. The MMR vaccine contains 3 components: measles, mumps, and rubella. The measles and mumps components have nothing to do with fetal tissue, fetal DNA, because they were made in chick embryos. But then the rubella component was derived from viruses grown in human cells. But we need to be able to get human cells from somewhere in order to have the virus replicate and be used in the vaccine. That's literally what we do. We allow the virus to replicate, we weaken it.
That's true. The strongest argument for there not being fucking fetal debris in these fucking vaccines is that if there was, I bet RFK would be fucking drinking vials of it on fucking airplanes. True.
And we put it in a vaccine so that your body gets a weakened virus exposure, not the real one, so you build up immunity and don't have to have all the negative repercussions of actually being sick. Now, for the rubella component, the cells in which the virus was grown were gathered from 2 elective and ethical abortions performed over 50 years ago. And since then, we've been reusing those cells. That's how we do science. We reuse old cells. But there is no fetal tissue. There is no fetal debris. This is just illogical coming from someone who doesn't understand how science works. It's just physically not there. And the presence of DNA particles is so tightly controlled that it's to the billionth of a gram, a picogram, because there are potential complications if there are high amounts of DNA present. It's all monitored. There is no fetal tissue. There is no fetal debris. This is an overstatement that is made by some...
I remember this actually. Because apparently, you know how Bill Gates complained, like, not everybody can manufacture vaccines, and some people would let this shit like fucking overgrow. And if you get more, like a higher concentration of these cells and you let them fucking, it's not like fucking yeast or whatever. But if you let like too many of these things grow and then you fucking vaccinate people with it, that's what happens. There it is. You got a overgrown vaccine. Okay, I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to close that video and come back.
Physically not there.
I'm sorry.
And the presence of DNA particles is so tightly controlled that it's to the billionth of a gram, a picogram, because there are potential complications if there are high amounts of DNA present. It's all monitored. There is no fetal tissue. There is no fetal debris. This is an overstatement that is made by someone who is consistently fear-mongering about the vaccine. The best evidence indicates that Dr. Offit's rotavirus vaccine causes negative net public health impacts. In other words, Dr. Offit's vaccine almost certainly kills and injures more children in the United States than the rotavirus disease killed and injured prior to the vaccine's introduction. Now, I've heard...
In a weird way, this is almost true. It might become true, right? Because the vaccines were created, and because the internet has run amok, we've now convinced ourselves of crazy shit, which has led us to electing people like RFK and then taking huge steps back in public health. And maybe at the end of the day, these vaccines will have been worse for public health because of the decisions we've made as a result of them. Just saying.
Heard RFK Jr. say that he's really good at reading scientific research.
I'm comfortable reading science and dissecting it and discerning the difference between junk science and real science.
I don't think he does know the difference between junk science and real science. Because prior to 2006, before the vaccine was available...
give the money.
Sorry, let me try that again.
Real science.
I don't think he does know the difference between junk science and real science. Because prior to 2006, before the vaccine was available, Rotavirus, which is an intestinal virus that leads to massive diarrhea, vomiting in young children, it hospitalized 50 to 70,000 children in the United States per year. After the implementation of the rotavirus vaccine from Dr. Paul Offit, those rates have fallen by 50,000. And while yes, in a developed country like the United States, the death rate was low, 50 to 60 deaths a year, in developing nations like India, where there isn't good access to medical care for many people, the deaths were much, much higher. So not only are we preventing hundreds of thousands of doctor and ER visits, we're preventing tens of thousands of hospitalizations in the US, and we're saving over 100,000 lives across the globe. This vaccine is what a scientific miracle looks like. The fact that he's not seeing that and seeing it as a net negative, I just don't understand what research we're looking at. Throughout his book, he makes certain references to children having side effects of this vaccine, but when he's looking at the pamphlet that comes with the vaccine, he's just looking at children having conditions. He's not comparing the children in the unvaccinated group to the vaccinated group, because through natural incidents, kids have all sorts of conditions. Kids who were vaccinated have headaches, and kids who are unvaccinated have headaches. The question is, does the rate of headaches go up? And the answer is pretty much no. Probably the most viral claim RFK Jr. has made in his years has been tying mercury specifically.
Viral claim, get it?
Thimerosal, which is a preservative ingredient used in vaccines in the 1990s. He famously wrote an article titled Deadly Immunity that was published in Salon and Rolling Stone magazine. When a study revealed that mercury in childhood vaccines may have caused autism in thousands of kids, the government rushed to conceal the data and to prevent parents from suing drug companies for their role in the epidemic. But the article is so poorly written, it had to be corrected 5 times before finally being retracted. The editor who published it literally states that it was the worst mistake of her life. The ironic part was that on July 1st, 1999, 6 years before the article was written, the FDA already sent a letter to all U.S. vaccine manufacturers requesting them to remove Thimerosal as a precautionary measure. Currently, all routine vaccines recommended for children 6 years of age and younger are available in formulations that do not contain Thimerosal. And to reiterate, this was a precautionary move, as no research has found any increased health risk from presence of the ingredient in vaccines. And let's run the hypothetical and say that he did uncover some sort of link between autism and Thimerosal. Then we should have seen autism rates crumble once Thimerosal was removed. But that didn't happen because Thimerosal wasn't to blame. And it didn't stop him, by the way, when this article was removed. He went on to write a book about this in 2014.
We are 4.2% of the world's population. We buy 70% of the pharmaceutical drugs on Earth.
We are about 4% of the global population here in the United States, but we do not buy 70% of the world's drugs. We buy around 6 to 8%. 6 to 8. That's a big difference. And some might say, well, he's talking about money spent on medications. Well, yeah, because we're usually the ones launching them first, so we have first access. But even then, we spend about 40 to 50%. Not 70.
When I was a kid, I always say this. A typical pediatrician would see 1 case of diabetes in his lifetime. Today, it's 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door.
No, not
1 out of 3 kids has diabetes. What is that statement, bro?
One of 3 children is diabetic in the United States. Up to age 18, 0.3 something, less than 0.4% of children have diabetes. That's type 1 and type 2. That means 1 in 300, not 1 in 3. I mean, that level of hyperbole is dangerous.
20 years ago, there was no diabetes in China. Today, 50% of the population is...
Wait, what are these statements? Do these people that know what diabetes is?
Hyperbole is dangerous.
20 years ago, there was no diabetes in China. Today, 50% of the population is diabetic.
50% of China is not diabetic. The rate is somewhere around 12 to 13%, which is still incredibly high. I mean, if someone was going out and butchering statistics like this over and over again as a resident to me, I would file a report that they need to study more, that they need to do some sort of remediation. But this is the person who's at the head, the top of these agencies, doing it over and over and over again. And people are allowed to make mistakes. I'm not about catching someone in a gotcha. But he makes these mistakes over and over and over again and doesn't issue.
How do people like RFK still have a career after being proved wrong constantly? Because he's not looking for crowds of people that are looking for research. He's just looking for crowds of people that are looking for some type of like comfort, and he gives comfort truths, right? What year is it? People still believe in whatever spiritual astrology, Christianity, right? People are just looking for it. They're looking for a different type of thing.
Do a correction. That's a problem. Something that I noted even in my debate on Jubilee was that RFK Jr. does not believe HIV causes AIDS. In fact, in a New York Magazine interview published in June 2023, he told the reporter nobody knows whether HIV is the sole cause of AIDS. There are much better candidates than HIV for what causes.
Why? There are more things that I haven't even seen. What the fuck is this? It's actually way too much makeup and singing like a woman that causes AIDS, actually. That's why we lost all those singers in the 60s, I guess.
Now, if you're trying to be charitable, you might say, well, maybe he thinks a different virus causes AIDS. But let's see.
There's a lot of people that said it's not a virus. The virus is a passenger virus. And these people are dying mainly because of poppers. 100% of the people who died in the first 1,000 who had AIDS were people who were addicted to poppers.
The party drug poppers is what our Secretary of Health and Human Services believes is causing AIDS. I struggle to coherently explain why that's wrong because it's such a ridiculous claim to make when we've dropped the death rate and increased the longevity of someone who has HIV because of antiviral medication. To then say that it's because of illicit drug use, just the logic is flawed on so many levels that there's clearly an HIV denialism happening here that is devoid of any scientific factual logic. Continuing on his crusade to demerit the MMR vaccine, RFK Jr. now claims that the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine is not very useful because those who are elderly lose their immunity.
The vaccine wanes about 4.5% per year. So that means older people are essentially unvaccinated.
That's just not true. The Lancet just did a great study.
Per year.
Not very useful because those who are elderly lose their immunity.
The vaccine wanes about 4.5% per year. So that means older people are essentially unvaccinated.
That's just not true. The Lancet just did a great study on this, showing that the vaccine wanes 0.04% per year. So I don't know if he misread the study, but again, we're having this issue with statistics, and that's a very big difference because if you factor this out over someone's lifespan, 0.04% and 4% is a drastically different outcome for someone who's 60 or 70 years of age. That being said, is it possible that someone who's 75 loses their immunity despite getting the vaccine as a child? Yeah, it's possible. In fact, for some jobs, I have to do something known as MMR titers to confirm that they are immune to these conditions because they might be exposed to them being healthcare workers, as an example. But to say that it's 4.5% annually, just not accurate.
I'm not against vaccines. I've never been anti-vax. That's something that's said about me to make me look crazy, like a conspiracy theorist. What I've said is let's have testing for each of the vaccines to make sure that they are that they're safe and effective.
He's so smart. Did we ever get a good name for this fallacy, where it's like you say a thing that everybody's already doing because you obviously should do it? Like you come in and you're like, I have ideas to make this workplace better. I think that all of the employees should be sleeping at night. I just think it would be good. I don't know who's against, like every single person that works here should be, I think, sleeping at night. And we should all probably be eating food, maybe even multiple times a day. And next week we'll talk about water. Like, thank you. True. We should test our medicines.
To have testing for each of the vaccines to make sure that they are that they're safe and effective. Vaccines are the only medical product that is not safety tested prior to licensure.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Thank you.
And we need placebo-controlled trials.
I can't believe I have to educate.
The same people, by the way, fuck me, I'm dying. The same people who are saying shit like vaccines aren't safety tested are injecting themselves with are going to these stupid boutiques for this retarded fucking, I don't know what this stupid shit is, where you go and you're like, oh, inject me, daddy, with the vitamins that make me young and beautiful or whatever autistic. I don't think even this shit gets tested. Not by the FDA, right? Because it's not a medical treatment, no? It just has to not be. Can somebody tell me if I'm wrong on this? Like supplements, I think, or whatever, aren't tested by the FDA. I don't know if any of this stuff has to be like FDA regulated. I could be wrong on that. Wait, I can just Google actually. NAD injections, FDA regulated. No, regulated as a dietary supplement.
The person who's in charge of the CDC, FDA, and NIH, but vaccines do undergo placebo randomized controlled studies. COVID vaccines ran through tens of thousands of people in randomized controlled placebo trials. When you have a completely new vaccine, you're doing placebo randomized controlled studies. But if you already have a vaccine that you know the safety profile for, and you know that it works, so you've tested it, now you no longer need to test it against placebo. You only need to test it against the new version of the vaccine. Then you can compare the safety rates, the effectiveness rates, and he says that this is somehow different than the pharmaceutical industry. It's not. The pharmaceutical industry works in the same way, that when you have a novel medication, absolutely you do randomized controlled studies. But when you have a new medication that works in the same way, you can compare it to the standard of care. And the reason that...
True, hold on. I'm doing a 1 minute TikTok stream so I can get my TikTok bullshit.
we do this, scientifically speaking, is because it's unethical to withhold treatment in a randomized placebo-controlled trial when you know something works and is beneficial. So what we do is instead, we randomize into 2 groups. One group gets the existing vaccine that we know the safety profile of and the effectiveness, and we compare it to the new one. Vaccines are incredibly well tested. In fact,
this is true even, I think, of ordinary medical trials where you have an actual placebo and a medication. If one medication is shown with a high degree of likeliness to be effective, I think it's considered unethical to continue testing the placebo in the other group. They have to switch them to the drug or whatever. Fuck, I didn't mean to like that. Don't fuck my algorithm up.
they're more well tested than pharmaceuticals because they're given to people who are healthy. We have a higher threshold for side effects in pharmaceuticals because those people are actually sick and have an issue. But when you give something to a healthy person, you have to have a higher bar of safety. That's why we have the Vaccine Safety Data Net that actually monitors vaccines after they've been administered. And this is...
Hi guys, I just want to go live to say I saw this stuff between Trump and Elon, and I really hope they figure their stuff out because we need both of these men to save America. I've never felt more confident of anything in my entire life. America will not survive if Donald Trump can't harness the genius and the power of Elon Musk. Praise be to his name. Amen. Okay, I ended.
To the tune of millions of doses of vaccines. The fact that he said that they're not tested is, again, the crusade of trying to discredit vaccines. Then came the beef tallow oil. Literally, Charlie Kirk tweets that RFK ate Steak and Shake on live TV, the fast food joint that's bravely frying everything in beef tallow. That is the way, Maha.
We are poisoning ourselves, and it's coming from principally these ultra-processed foods. And what we're trying to do, and this President Trump wants us to have radical transparency and to incentivize companies like this one to switch to traditional ingredients like beef tallow.
Oh, by the way, here you go.
We're talking about making people healthy. You're eating fast food. And I'm not villainizing fast food, but if you're going to be talking about making substantial improvements to the health of the United States, you should be talking about removal of those foods. In fact, it's not the chemical, it's not the oil that's the issue. It's the fact that we're over-consuming ultra-processed foods.
Just another day in my life where people are stealing my takes, but that's okay. I'm here for it. It's all good.
The Maha report that was just put out a few days ago talks about the overconsumption of ultra-processed foods, yet they're eating it as an example, celebrating restaurants that are serving the thing.
When I was a kid, McDonald's was made with tallow fat. That was good for you. Your body needs that. It makes you healthy.
Can you imagine saying McDonald's fries make you healthy as someone who's in charge of a health agency? I mean,
like, it's technically true. Like, McDonald's fries give you calories that your body needs to survive, but like, talk about missing the point. Jesus.
He's just fully making things up. In America, we're over-consuming saturated fat. We're over-consuming ultra-processed foods. His own report states that, and yet he's celebrating fast food, celebrating how McDonald's used to fry their foods in beef tallow.
Almost all of the Falconers who I grew up with in the Hudson Valley have serious problems now with brain fog and with other...
What is that cohort of people? So I grew up with this group of Falconers. Okay. Sorry.
Almost all of the Falconers who I grew up with in the Hudson Valley have serious problems now with brain fog and with other symptoms of Lyme disease. And the idea that this may have been is highly likely to have been a military weapon.
It's highly likely that this was Lyme disease is a military weapon. Is with 100% certainty wrong. 60,000 years ago, there's traces of...
Ooh, is he going to do the chronic Lyme disease one?
Lyme disease. We have ticks preserved in amber from dinosaur days because they fed on dinosaurs. So the fact that he's extrapolating all these thoughts that have no scientific basis is really scary.
There are plenty of studies that make it clear that SIDS is caused by vaccines. SIDS really appeared following the first vaccine.
This is probably one of the most evil things because that's just an evil fucking thing to put into a parent's head. What a horrendously, disgustingly evil. Like, this is like a thing that I'm not going to say anything because I know you're watching. My friend from the FBI, I love you. And I would never say anything mean about this guy. He's in government, and he's awesome. We're all great human beings. SIDS is sudden infant death syndrome. I don't think we have ever figured out what causes it. Hence it's called. I think everything with a syndrome is just like, who knows? Some people think it's maybe if kids sleep on their belly sometimes, whatever. But basically, you go to sleep, you wake up, and your kid's dead. And it's just super bizarre why it happens sometimes. And it's obviously parents spend a lot of time blaming themselves for it because they're like, the fuck? But to say that it was because you vaccinated your child, come on.
Studies that make it clear that SIDS is caused by vaccines. SIDS really appeared following the first vaccine.
There are no studies showing that. The reason some people have considered an association is because of the timing. A lot of the first vaccines are given at 2 to 4 months of age, and SIDS peaks at 2 to 4 months of age. So people thought that there could be an association. And when research has studied it,
Fuck, sorry, one more. Oh my God, there's so many good memes. Fuck. That totally was a Nazi salute that Elon did, by the way. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. Oh my God, dude. It would just be fucking so kino. Please, I'll buy Trump coin. I will commit $1,000 to Trump coin. If it's on Coinbase, I'll buy $1,000 to Trump coin if he says this.
We have seen that there is no relationship. In fact, if you truly look at the data, you actually have seen in the research that if your child is up to date with vaccines, you have a lower risk of SIDS in some instances. And notice,
wife's pregnant right now and expecting soon. Yeah, I've been thinking about SIDS way too much. Just don't overthink it, my dude. If you have a child and it SIDS out and it dies, I mean, like, you've already had a trial run. And so you have the opportunity to, if you don't want to have a kid, you'd say, okay, whew, well, yeah, at least we got out of that one. And if you want to have another one, just fucking pump out another one. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Notice how I'm hedging it. It would be really easy based on the strength of that association for me to say vaccines decrease risk of SIDS, but I don't, because I'm honest to the data in saying that there is some preliminary evidence showing that keeping up to date with vaccines can lower the chance of your child having sudden infant death syndrome. But RFK sees two things happen at the same time. He doesn't even care what the evidence shows. He just says that they must be causing one another. Many people who are frustrated with our healthcare system for being too reactive and not preventive forget that some vaccines are preventive for not just regular illness, but also cancer. More specifically, the HPV vaccine, also known as the human papillomavirus vaccine, because that virus actually ends up causing cervical cancer. So by getting kids vaccinated, we actually have seen a tremendous drop in cervical cancer rates. That didn't stop RFK Jr. from tweeting and currently leaving this tweet up. Gardasil HPV vaccine appears to be increasing the risk of cervical cancer in vaccinated age groups. I'm gonna ignore all the COVID.
Why? How is this guy he said even more unhinged shit that I've just never heard of about vaccines before. What the fuck?
Good stuff, because we're not talking about that. Let me give you some data. Sweden, from 2006 to 2007.
We have to stream for one more hour. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, guys.
To almost 2 million girls and women. 63% lower risk overall, 88% lower risk when you start the first dose below age 17. England, around the same time frame, 87% lower cancer rate. Multi-country meta-analysis done by the WHO, 50% drop in high-grade lesions within a decade.
Yeah, link me Tech Tone's video on this. I'm so curious what he says. How could he have had a negative impression of this? What the fuck?
Of the program starting. In the United States, done with the CDC, with the National Precancer Surveillance Center, 80% drop in cervical precancers among 20 to 24-year-olds. It's just so obvious to see that the data is clear. When you vaccinate against HPV, specifically the high-risk subtypes that can lead to cervical cancer, you see a drop in cervical cancer, in precancerous lesions. And RFK not only doesn't see it, but sees some sort of risk that no other scientific organization in the globe, not just in the US, can see. How are we gonna get to the bottom of making people healthy if we don't do the research? We're firing scientists, we're slashing budgets by hundreds of millions of dollars. Who's gonna be doing the research? I just don't see a plan here. There's a lot of political speak, PR stunts, promises that will remove certain dyes from kids' foods, as if that's the problem. No, the issue is the ultra-processed foods. The issue is that obesity is going up. Those are the real problems, because that impacts all parts of our lives. Entrusting all of that to someone who makes statements like this,
we should not be giving black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites,
is scary to me. Our health agencies cannot be led by someone.
What is the context of that quote? I mean, like, right? Is that true? Can you like vaccinated against like sickle cell anemia? I actually don't know. Maybe there is. I have no idea. But you wouldn't base that off of. Hold on. Trigger alert. I don't want to offend any neo-Nazis, Nazis, race realists out there. Okay, so take off your headphones for 2 seconds. Okay. If you were to do a different immunization based on proclivities for these diseases, you wouldn't do it off of white or black. You would do it off of like your ancestry, right? Your like ethnic history. It wouldn't just be off your fucking skin color. But okay. All right. Put your headphones back on. We're good, guys.
One who repeatedly denies the very science they're charged to uphold. Secretary Kennedy's long record of spreading vaccine falsehoods and undermining proven public health measures makes him a clear threat to millions of Americans who rely on accurate guidance. Certainly, he should have never been confirmed to head the office of HHS. But choosing to leave him in charge is like handing the keys to a driver who continues to insist that stop signs and red lights are optional.
Yeah, that sounds based.
For the sake of our children, frontline health workers, scientists, and every family that deserves accurate healthcare guidance, we must demand his immediate resignation. Normally at this time, I would recommend you to click here and watch another one of my videos, but not today. Instead,
Instead, we're going to watch Tectone.
Instead, I'm asking my American viewers to click the link at the top of my description to find out who your representatives in Congress are. From there, you can contact them via phone or email and join me in calling for Secretary Kennedy to who your representatives in Congress are.
Is this a real place? Edison, Manville, Long Branch. Is this, what the fuck, where is this? Oh, Princeton. Wait, is that New York up there? What the fuck city is this, or state is this? New Jersey? What? Oh, the place you live in when you work in New York? Okay.
From there, you can contact them via phone or email and join me in calling for Secretary Kennedy to resign from office. If you're not sure what to say, I've even included a few sentences you can copy and paste into an email or say over the phone. I can't do this alone. I need your help. And as always, stay happy and healthy.
Thank you. Got him. Thank you so much. Okay, I don't want to crash out watching him say he's going to crash out or that the other guy's crashing out. I might lose it. RFK Jr. previously said that COVID targets white and black people and spares Jewish and Chinese. No shot. I need context. There's no... It can't be that ridiculous. It can't be that bad. This is going to be cut out of context. Wrap foil around doorknobs when alone. Here's why. Wait, why? Hold on. Wait, why would you put bread clips in your wallet? Genius. Wait, no, I just want to know why I have to do the doorknob thing. Oh, how to protect your doorknobs. When you're painting, cover your doorknobs and hinges with foil. Trust me, it's way easier to peel off than tape. Instead of wasting tape on knobs, just wrap them up in foil. Okay. Wouldn't you just take the doorknobs off? They don't even, you didn't even wrap the, they didn't even cover the base of the doorknob. Wait, what the fuck is this? What? Am I not understanding something? Am I fucking retarded? Like, imagine you like paint and you're like, oh, am I not understanding something? Oh, look, I'm not gonna get my doorknob painted. You don't paint the base? You paint, why is it half covered? What is the point of this? I'm sorry. All right, I'm done. Okay, I don't get it. Put ice cubes on your burger patties. What the fuck? To lock in the juiciness. As the ice melts, it infuses the meat with moisture. It's water. It's preventing your patties from drying out under the heat. Perfect for lean cuts that need a little extra love. Pro tip, swap the ice cube for a splash of cold water or broth mixed into your ground meat ready. Chef recommended. It's true. The best seasoning, we did this a lot at the casino. People don't talk about this a lot. The best, you know how you know that you have a good chef at the grill? Is when you go and you see that they have the best seasoning you could ever have for the perfect juicy burger. And that's a bottle of Dasani water. You just take that bad boy and whoosh. Put a toilet paper roll under the toilet seat at night. Wait, why? If your bath area is not properly separated, you must have encountered a wet seat after showering, even with the lid closed. Put a toilet paper roll on the seat, let it dry quick and disturb. What are you doing? A wet seat. What? You're like, are you spraying your shower like all over the bathroom? Spray alcohol in your bed. What? Bed bugs can be really difficult to get rid of once you get them in your home. And if you're really careful, they can sneak in and not. Fill a spray bottle with rubbing alcohol and spray it generously over your pillow's mattress. Can you just walk around your house spraying alcohol on everything? What is this? Wait, what is this web? Is this like a troll website? This can't be real. Put a blaster over your car mirror. Oh, I have heard this one before, I think. Life hacks are popular with your age group. Fuck, okay. Hang pennies in a bag of water to repel flies. It works to the mechanics of a fly's sight? When light hits the bag of water filled with shiny pennies or piece of aluminum foil, it refracts, confusing the flies. Overwhelmed, the flies fly away to another area. I thought this was going to be a video. Oh, that is a video. Oh, fuck. No. Too loud. Sorry. Now I'm not watching your video. Now you pissed me off. Now I'm leaving your site. Oh, we were over here. Okay. Thanks. While we're waiting for this ad to finish, if you go to merch.destiny.gg, nothing will happen because Jader has not configured the subdomain correctly. But that's okay because we can go to destiny.gg/merch instead. Oh my God. Fresh from the halls of Damascus, we have a steel-infused, DGG labeled certificate of authenticity, an original DGG packaging knife, and shirts with cute designs, logos on the back. Oh my fucking God. This, like this? Jesus. Look at how cute this is. Do you have a friend who's a loser fuck Hassan fan? And he's like, aren't you guys in a fucking cult? Then you can say, actually, here's my not in a cult t-shirt. Do you have one? Loser? And he won't. And then he's in the cult. Boom. Or look, get a hoodie. Protect yourself from the elements. Go.
The New York Post obtained video of Democratic presidential candidate RFK Jr. Falsely stating this week that COVID-19 was targeted to spare Jewish and Chinese people. He said, quote, we can't show the video, I'm going to just put the quote up on screen. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasian and black people. The people who are immune are Jews and Chinese. We don't know whether it was deliberately targeted or not, but there are papers out there that show the racial or ethnic differential and impact. Kennedy says the reporting is mistaken. But Molly, what does this say about RFK Jr.'s candidacy that these fringe ideas continue to emerge?
Well, this guy has always been a complete lunatic, and his whole platform was anti-vax. We sooner or later, these kind of...
No one cares.
And we need to talk about bioweapons. I know a lot now about bioweapons because I've been doing a book on it for the past 2.5 years, and
it's like everybody's crazy uncle at like Thanksgiving, but for some reason everybody forgot that you're not supposed to listen to him because he's the crazy uncle.
And you know, the technology that we now have to develop these microbes, we've put hundreds of millions of dollars into ethnically targeted microbes. The Chinese have done the same thing. In fact, COVID-19, there's an argument that it is ethnically targeted. COVID-19 attacks certain races disproportionately.
He's like, wait, look at his. Hey, watch this guy. Watch this guy. Watch this guy. Watch him. 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 Hold on.
Certain races disproportionately. The races that are.
He's like, fuck. This one's going viral, Chief.
Most immune to COVID-19 are because of the structure of the genetic structure of genetic differentials among different races of the receptors of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential impact to that.
There was some evidence of this early on. This is actually, not many people know this, but it goes hand in hand with why people were so fucking ass-pained at Fauci in the beginning, and ass-pained at the CDC, who were like, oh, you gotta mask up, you gotta mask up, you gotta mask up. And it's like, you're telling us that we need to wear fucking masks, supposedly, to protect us against COVID, when the people with the biggest noses, Ashkenazi Jews, don't even get sick more often than we do. Explain that one, Chief. I'm gonna get a cough drop, hold on. This should work, right? Like a cough drop would help a throat that's like...
We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. That's what all of those labs in the Ukraine are about. They're collecting Russian DNA, they're collecting Chinese DNA, so that we can target people by race.
Be Ukrainian, release like Eastern European Russian targeted bioweapon, immediately kill 90% of your own population. Wow, ingenious. Why didn't they use this bioweapon at all? Whatever.
Dr. Mike is generally a very respectable content creator, but he's going after RFK Jr.'s health claims. This sounds very interesting.
And someone who deeply cares about public health, I've been quite vocal about my criticism towards RFK Jr. I've said it on podcasts, on news programs, and frankly, all over social media. I know many who support his message are frustrated with our health.
Bro, kill me. You have to understand, I'm so sorry, for conservatives that are like lost to the cult, okay? For the people outside, this is a very funny situation. It is very funny for Elon to just come out and be like, by the way, that guy, he was also a pedophile the entire time. I didn't tell any of you people. And he babysat my kid a lot.
Healthcare system, with our lack of clear answers to some hard questions, with our poor communication and guidance throughout.
I mean, I feel like healthcare systems around the planet are just fucking terrible. I've been trying to get a cardiologist appointment for like 3 years, and every single time I get recommended, they deny it. which makes no sense to me. I try to use my insurance, and it only works on like 90, or it works less than like 5% of the ones I actually want to use my insurance on. I had a friend.
What? What are we talking about here? What?
Who needed to go to a gynecologist, and the only one that was available to use their insurance was a guy, which, by the way, why the fuck are there male gynecologists? I feel like that's just weird as fuck.
What? I'm not gonna survive this video, am I? I'm not gonna make it, am I? I'm imagining him. I'm so sorry. I'm just imagining him beating the shit out of his wife because she comes home. And he's like, "How you doing, honey?" And she's like, "Oh, it's good. I went to Dr. Kelly today. I got my pap smear." And he's like, "Oh, that's real good." And she's like, "Yeah, you know, he just had a kid recently." And he was like, "He?"
You go in there, you have to wait for a fucking line for like hours. I called an ambulance. It cost me $6,800.
What did you do? What was the ambulance from LA to San Francisco? $6,000? What? Did you die on the way there? What the fuck?
Then you go to Canada, and somehow it's even worse. I don't know why it's so hard to get proper health care for our citizens, but it's just so bad to not be well in the United States. Everybody's...
I think... Hold on. Do you know what just happened there? Did anybody catch that?
Even worse. Dollars. Then you go to Canada.
So he's lying. Everything he just said with his experience with healthcare in the US, he's either lying or he's exaggerating so much to the point of a lie. He's doing a little Hasanabi here. And then he's thinking in his head, like, okay, what's the next like stereotypical thing? It's like, yeah, we can't do it in the US. Canada, it's all free and it's awesome. But then he said Canada, but then in his mind, he immediately thought, wait, Canada, libcucks, losers. They just voted away from the guy that was pro-Trump. And he's like, actually, Canada's even worse. And he had to switch. There was a pause. What I just said, that all happened in his mind. I swear to God it did. 100%, I swear to God, that's what just happened. That's why that pause happened, okay? In case you didn't catch that.
It called me, you have to wait for a fucking line for like hours. I called an ambulance. It cost me $6,800. Then you go to Canada, and somehow it's even worse. I don't know why it's so hard to get proper health care for our citizens, but it's just so bad to not be well in the United States. Everybody's fucking sick, and people are choosing to walk to the hospital rather than call an ambulance because that amount of money can ruin your fucking life.
About the pandemic.
No. Yeah, and you're waiting 19 hours to tell you you're okay, and it's like also just like it's not even true. Like they'll write everything off as anxiety, and they'll never check you. They'll just like check your temperature and say, "Oh no, you're fine." It's like what is this, man?
Oh, that I hear.
Dude, if I worked, I feel like working in like an ER in like a college town or something has got to be the worst experience. You get like some 21-year-old with fucking anxiety, and they come in like insisting that they're having heart attacks or strokes or dying, and it's like, what do you want me to do, bro? You failed your math final and you got another test tomorrow. You're stressed. You're not dying. You're not having a heart attack. Nothing's wrong with you.
Hear you and actually agree with you. We need to do better, and change can't come soon enough. We certainly need to be skeptical of our institutions, but healthy scientific skepticism means following data, not cherry picking it.
I'll be real, guys. I think more people are calling Ubers to go to the hospital than people are calling ambulances, and I think that's a very, very, very destructive thing.
Just as a heads up, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just because you're going to the hospital does not mean you have to take an ambulance. An ambulance is something you take when there's a risk of you dying on the way there, okay? Or you need some sort of emergency assistive care. If you can walk to the hospital, if you can go to there's a step between ER, like urgent care. If you can take an Uber, if you can have a friend drive you, there's nothing wrong with that. It's A-okay. It's totally fine. Just because you're going to the hospital doesn't mean it has to be in an ambulance. There's not enough ambulances for that.
We're making it up. Now, before we fact check.
An ambulance is not it's not a hospital taxi.
some of the more extreme examples of misinformation, I want to show you who RFK Jr. really is, what he stands for, and why despite some of his ideas sounding good, he's incredibly dangerous to public health. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the nephew of former President John F. Kennedy. He first became popular in the 1990s as an attorney suing factories that were dumping pollution into New York's Hudson River. Good stuff. However, in 2005, he began his public crusade against mercury and vaccines, and eventually joining the team at World Mercury Project in 2015, which abruptly changed its name to Children.
I like how in the beginning of this video, Dr. Mike, he does like the... I do this same stupid shit. We're like, I'm going to build a bridge. And he's like, yeah, true. But it doesn't help at all because it's not like, it's not putting his mind into space where he can accept any criticism of RFK Jr.
Children's Health Defense in 2018, where he served as chairman and sold shirts with this slogan. In 2023, he jumped into the presidential race as a Democrat, but when that didn't work out,
I'll be real, I see nothing wrong with being anti-vax. Not in 2025.
Holy shit. Like, these are the worst humans on the planet. You're the worst. You're the worst kind of person. We're all getting more sick. People are taking up too many goddamn hospital resources, and I can't see a fucking cardiologist. It's some bullshit. Preventative care. Yeah, it's called no seed oils, no lithium in my water, no radiation 5G towers, and no goddamn vaxes. I have pure American waffle syrup blood, okay? Jesus.
I'll be real, I have not felt the same. I have not felt the same as getting vaccinated. And the side effects of the vaccine that have been coming out only now, years after, scare the fuck out of me, to be honest. But I really don't care. You know what I mean? I can understand both sides, to be honest.
He swapped independent. And when that didn't work out, he dropped out and backed Republican Donald Trump in hopes of securing...
Anti-COVID vax or anti-all vaccines? Oh, just the COVID vaccine. The other vaccines have helped me tremendously. But yeah, like being anti-COVID vax, yeah.
...securing a cabinet position. I highlight this only to show that this issue isn't left, right, or center.
Let's see if by the end of this video we're skeptical of any other vaccines. Just curious, but we'll see.
It's simply about telling the truth and getting accurate health information to you. Shortly after Trump took office...
Oh, that dude's against all vaxes? Oh, that's weird. No, I think modern science has made a lot of great vaccines, but the thing is that I think the COVID vaccine was fucking rushed, and they didn't really know what they were doing. And I think it's leading to a lot of downsides and health risk and issues that I'm currently experiencing. One of the side effects that I've been experiencing since I got vaccinated, like 5 years ago now, is like I have like brain fog all the time. Randomly, I'll just get nauseous and dizzy. And
Doc, I've been having all these side effects from the vaccine. Which one? The COVID vax. That was 12 years ago. I know. Okay. It's 20, the year is 20, here's 2036. 15 years ago, I got COVID vax. It's like, okay, well, talk to me. What's going on? Well, my back hurts when I stand up. My knees don't feel that great. I'm grumpy and irritable quite a bit. Erections are coming a little bit slower. And I'm just saying, I was never like this before I had the vax. And you were how old when you were vaccinated? 22. And now I'm...
I did not have that before I got vaccinated.
Almost 40.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck they put in me. I'm hoping one day I'll get fixed, but I highly doubt it, and I think I just got fucked over.
Also, I just want to say, okay, men versus women, right? Like, women are the babies, the pussies, the losers. They have like the fake things like depression and all this shit. And men are like the ones with real diseases. But when it comes to vaccines, like, so what, you got vaccine injured? Yeah. What do you have? Brain fog. Okay.
The side effects that I've been experiencing since I got vaccinated, like 5 years ago now, is like I have like brain fog all the time. Randomly, I'll just get nauseous and dizzy. And I did not have that before I got vaccinated. So yeah, I don't know what the fuck they put in me. I'm hoping one day I'll get fixed, but I highly doubt it. And I think I just got fucked over by Canada being too strict on vaccinating everybody immediately as a knee-jerk reaction, rather than allowing citizens to still get groceries when they're not vaxxed. And that was the only choice that I had. He's not anti-all vax. Okay, well, I'm just anti the COVID vax. This fucked me over. Yeah, I was told I couldn't get groceries unless I was vaccinated, so it just really wasn't a choice.
He assigned Kennedy to...
What? I'm so sorry. I live in California. What grocery stores were checking your vaccine card? Did I miss this?
Fix our healthcare system.
I'm going to let him go wild on health. I'm going to let him go wild on the food. I'm going to let him go wild on medicines.
But he still needed to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate. During that process,
he was in Canada. He said, "Oh, in Canada, did you have to show a vax card to get to buy groceries? You're starving outside, and you're like, I need to get some maple syrup." And they're like, "Sir, you need to show me your vaccine records."
He stated over and over that he is not anti-vax.
Oh, wait. I know what he's talking about. He's never bought groceries in his life. And he's assuming that, like, yeah, every time you go to the grocery store, if you don't have a vaccine card, you can't get any. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, if you want to go get groceries, what do you mean? Like, what groceries are you talking about? Well, let's see. When I went to Applebee's to get some appetizers groceries, they vaccine card checked me. When I went to McDonald's because I just wanted some milkshake groceries, they vaccine card checked me. When I went to, okay, bro.
Vaccine.
But I am not anti-vaccine. I have never been anti-vax.
And if we listen to some of his previous statements from 2014, it might seem like he was telling the truth.
I am very pro-vaccine. I have 6 children. I had all 6 of my children vaccinated. I believe that vaccines are critical to public health. That vaccines have saved hundreds of millions of lives, and they save millions of lives every year.
Right, so this would make me feel a lot better hearing this guy talk about how good vaccines are if he didn't sound like a fucking undead from World of Warcraft. You know what I mean? Like, he sounds like he got the goofy filter on like a Snapchat voice changer.
And they've succeeded in eradicating or nearly
I don't know what's wrong with him, man. It sounds spooky, brother.
eradicating many of these epidemic illnesses.
In fact,
that was probably one of the most insensitive things I've ever said, but I'm just saying, bro, sounds kind of funny. My bad, guys, my bad. I'm just saying he sounds goofy, bro. That's my bad.
Time, his focus was mostly on mercury, and he was honest about his lack of knowledge about vaccines.
I know very little about vaccines. What I know a lot about is mercury.
RFK Jr., if you're watching my stream, I apologize. I didn't know you have throat cancer. My bad, man.
However, now it's
You can call me bald.
2025, and we have a decade's worth of proof that RFK Jr. is, in fact, anti-vaccine.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
Remember how he just said his kids are vaccinated and he's pro-vaccine? Well, he said this in 2020.
If your kids were young now, would you give them the measles, the mumps vaccine?
No.
In fact, I don't understand how what he's doing is not perjury. I thought you weren't allowed to lie to Congress.
I have never told the public avoid vaccination. I see somebody on a hiking trail with carrying a little baby, and I said, better not get them vaccinated.
He really believes kids who get even 1 to 2 vaccines are not as bright as those who are unvaccinated.
If you've ever compared an unvaccinated kid to a vaccinated kid, you see the bright eyes and the engagement and the social interactions and the curiosity and the affection, and then you compare them. The child even had 1 or 2 vaccines, and they're completely different.
Even in a more dark analogy, he compares
that.
modern doctors to Nazis for vaccinating children.
To me, this is like Nazi death. I mean, what happens with these kids? I can't tell
God, we should have just watched this video. Fuck, guys.
you why somebody would do something like that. I can't tell you why ordinary criminals participate in the Holocaust. I can't tell you what was going on in their minds, what justifications they used.
Despite all that being widely available, he was confirmed in February 2025 as the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services, putting him in charge of some of the most important health agencies like the CDC, FDA, and NIH. And despite all his advocacy against vaccines, that vaccinated children are no longer bright,
this really feels like a clip chip video. And I feel over the next coming weeks, this video is going to be dissected.
Did the vaccine also give him power of foresight? What?
This video seems very sus to me right now.
That doctors are basically Nazis, that he would happily go back and not vaccinate his own kids. He is now back to saying,
But the best way to prevent the spread of measles is through vaccination. We urge people to get their MMR vaccines.
It seems RFK swaps his position on vaccines whenever he sees fit. Ironic, because many criticize the CDC for changing their medical guidance. But at least that's done in response to new scientific data. Now with him at the helm of the world's most prestigious medical entity, I think it's more important than ever to fact check some of the worst myths he's propagated.
I don't think there's any scientific question that vaccines cause autism if you actually read the science.
If you read the science, and the science is...
Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I think this guy was saying the COVID vax was great and no side effects. Yeah, I don't know about that one, man.
It's very clear on this, that there is no causal link between autism and vaccines. And there's been many studies that have looked at millions of children, comparing children who have been vaccinated versus those who haven't been vaccinated, and have seen that there is no causal link. When I was doing my debate with vaccine skeptics, one of the participants said that's because the people looking at it are part of the corrupt American capitalistic system. But then the research that was done on over 500,000 children in Denmark, which has nothing to do with the US capitalistic system, also found the same exact result. This is because there is no causal link. The only link between autism and vaccines that exists is that the timelines sort of match up from a correlation standpoint. And just because two things happen at the same time doesn't mean they caused one another. The same way that we could look at this picture.
I heard that the creator, or the, whoever invented that theory, admitted that was a hoax. I think I heard something about that a couple years ago. What, didn't they admit that was a hoax themselves?
Sure, or...
Wait, what? What was that fact check? I heard different. From who? I heard...
Or we could look at the trending graph of organic food sales. Yeah. It's important to study and see if there is causation. And when it comes...
Yeah, he admitted it was a hoax? Okay, that's what I thought too.
Comes to vaccines and autism, there is no causation. And I have to say that...
I don't even know what part was a hoax. What?
Over and over again, that this has been proven internationally, millions of children tested to this, and this needs to be put to bed.
Because the MMR vaccine contains a lot of aborted fetus debris and DNA particles.
The problem with making statements like there's fetal debris
Oh, about the original vaccine study? Oh, linking it to autism? Okay.
in a vaccine is that it's just factually untrue. The MMR vaccine contains 3 components. Fetal debris in a vaccine is that it's just factually untrue. The MMR vaccine contains 3 components: measles, mumps, and rubella. The measles and mumps components
I think we're all educated
have
enough to know
nothing
that correlation is
do
not
with
equal
fetal
causation.
tissue, fetal DNA, because they were made in chicken.
Are you though? Okay.
Embryos. But then the rubella component was derived from viruses grown in human cells. But we need to be able to get human cells from somewhere in order to have the virus replicate and be used in the vaccine. That's literally what we do. We allow the virus to replicate, we weaken it, and we put it in a vaccine so that your body gets a weakened virus exposure, not the real one. So you build up immunity and don't have to have all the
Oh, true. Tectone is training so that if Asmongold makes the full leap to kick, he can take over his place.
Negative repercussions of actually being sick. Now, for the rubella component, the cells in which the virus was grown were gathered from 2 elective and ethical abortions performed over 50 years ago. And since then, we've been reusing those cells. That's how we do science. We reuse.
Oh, he's on kick too. Oh, never mind. Well.
Old cells. But there is no fetal tissue. There is no fetal debris. This is just illogical coming from someone who doesn't understand how science works. It's just physically not there. And the presence of DNA particles is so tightly controlled that it's to the billionth of a gram, a picogram, because there are potential complications if there are high amounts of DNA present. It's all monitored. There is.
Yeah, it sounds like all these people who freak the fuck out over microplastics. When it's like, don't drink Fairlife milk, there's microplastics in it, but like there's like more microplastics in a banana than there is in a fucking protein shake. And that being said, if you are worried about microplastics in your system, the way to fix it is by donating blood. I believe that's actually the only way to get microplastics out of your system. Admittedly, once I donated blood, which I do every 8 weeks, it does make you feel a lot better. It does. It's like getting an oil change for your system.
Is he just advocating for like bloodletting? I don't even. There's like 5 jokes I can make, but I think they're all too edgy. Love you.
That's how the doctor described it to me. And, yeah, I feel great after that.
There is no fetal tissue. There is no fetal debris. This is an overstatement that is made by someone who is consistently fear-mongering about the vaccine. The best evidence indicates that Dr. Offit's rotavirus vaccine causes negative net public health impacts. In other words, Dr. Offit's vaccine almost certainly...
You saw the Vsauce video on Teflon? I thought microplastics built up in your tissues or whatever, no? Yeah, true. Wait a second. This guy donates blood every 2 months, and he's complaining about brain fog and dizziness. Is he like stumbling out? How many tubes today? It was 8 tubes today. I'm eating a candy bar to keep my blood sugar up. I can barely concentrate. It's like, are you feeling okay? I don't know, man. The goddamn COVID vaccine, it's still affecting me. It's still slowing me down. I'm sorry. I don't know, man.
Kills and injures more children in the United States than the rotavirus disease killed and injured prior to the vaccine's introduction. Now, I've heard RFK Jr.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, donating blood is good. It's not like I should discourage it. I'm sorry. If you want to donate blood, it's a good thing. Fuck.
Say that he's really good at reading scientific research.
I'm comfortable reading science and dissecting it and discerning the difference between junk science and real science.
I don't think he does know the difference between junk science and real science. Because prior to 2006, before the vaccine was available, rotavirus, which is an intestinal virus that leads to massive diarrhea, vomiting.
Like, he's made a lot of dumb medical comments, but I don't know if he's actually disagreed with Dr. Mike so far. I wonder what the crash out part is. I don't think Tectone has really disagreed with much he said, right? Like,
in young children, it hospitalized 50 to 70,000 children in the United States per year.
Jesus.
After the implementation of the rotavirus vaccine from Dr. Paul Offit, those rates have fallen by 50,000. And while yes, in a developed country like the United States, the death rate was low, 50 to 60 deaths a year, in developing nations like India, where there isn't good access to medical care for many people, the deaths were much, much higher. So not only
we should have just watched this video.
We preventing hundreds of thousands of doctor and ER visits, we're preventing tens of thousands of hospitalizations in the US, and we're saving over 100,000 lives across the globe.
Yeah, I still think the United States healthcare system is just a fucking joke, and the hospitals as well. I think it's such a fucking scam. In case you guys don't know, my best friend's mom died around 8 days ago. My buddy wasn't really ready to talk to me about it until like 2 days ago. And then I got him on the call yesterday to actually find out what happened, because he told me there was bad news. And I actually don't know. My best friend's mom died around 8 days ago. My buddy wasn't really ready to talk to me about it until like 2 days ago. And then I got him on the call yesterday to actually find out what happened, because he told me there was bad news. And I actually was helping pay for the life support of Christy for a bit there, because she was more to a mom to me than my actual mom was. And I'm really glad you guys are here while I'm streaming, because
What? Okay, no, never mind. I'm not. Well, I'm just saying, like, if he's paying for the life support, his friend probably wouldn't have to tell him, like, when his mom died, right? I imagine he could, like, check his credit card statement that day and there's, like, no charge. And he's like, oh, shit. Like, text. Like, I don't know. I don't even know. I'm not even, sorry.
It helped a lot get my mind off it. I played some Elden Ring last night on stream, and Chad was being very kind. But obviously, I mean, I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm dealing with a lot right now. She was having some complications.
He's like, I need to tell you something, bro. And you're like, it's okay. I checked my bank statement 3 weeks ago. It's like, no, I'm just kidding. No, it's not funny. It's not good. Nobody should die. Rip. Our hearts go out to him, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. Hearts go out to him, okay? Hearts go out to him.
Patients in the hospital, and while Edgic was trying to take care of her, I think the normal blood pressure is like 70 over 120 or something. He told me that she was some like crazy shit, like 50 over 70 or some like crazy low.
It's my blood 70 over 120, yes.
Blood pressure number, and like it was so obvious to him that, you know, she needed to be transferred to somewhere that could help her, because for some reason they couldn't help her there, and they just said no, and he's like, why? And they just told him that he was like,
they were like, you're too poor and you can't afford the $7,000 ambulance, so we're gonna keep her here while she dies, while her veins explode.
You know, worrying over nothing, and she's fine. And then later that night at 1 a.m., they give him the call to find that they finally transferred her, like fucking 14 hours after Edgic already asked. But by then it was too fucking late. And yeah, she passed. And it sucks because I never got the opportunity to see her. Because, you know, I was hoping that, you know, I was expecting a speedy recovery. Didn't happen. She was young too. She was only 70 years old. Only 70.
It's okay. I'm trying to imagine you're bringing back, like, hello, good sir, from the 1500s. And they're like, hello. What are we doing today? Well, this is a screen. It shows other people. What's he talking about today? He's talking about how fucking horrible our medical system is. And his friend's mom died, and she was quite young. It's like, wow, a young mother died. What was she, like 14? And you're like, no, she was 70. It's like,
and yeah, it's just really kind of fucked up, to be completely honest. And I just don't know why, when you ask the doctor that you need help, or or ask the doctor to transfer them somewhere you can get help, there's any way in the legal system where they can say, no, we don't want to do that.
Why? Yeah. Why can't a patient just tell them exactly what to do all the time? Why do we even need doctors? We should just have like hospitals full of nurses that can just like do things, and then the patients just tell them what to do, like Operation, except you're like directing the players, you know.
And I just find that a little bit fucking crazy personally, because it is fucking crazy. But yeah, sorry about that, guys. This video's kind of hitting home right now because I just think about the hospital's kind of fucking me up right now.
This vaccine is what a scientific miracle looks like. The fact that he's not seeing that and seeing it as a net negative, I just don't understand what research we're looking at. Throughout his book, he makes certain references to children having side effects of this vaccine. But when he's looking at the pamphlet that comes with the vaccine, he's just looking at children having conditions. He's not comparing.
Looking at children, that's like a sign of the Diddy party.
The children in the unvaccinated group to the vaccinated group. Because through natural incidents,
in his words, supposedly attractive children,
kids have all sorts of conditions. Kids who were vaccinated have headaches, and kids who are unvaccinated have headaches. The question is, does the rate of headaches go up? And the answer is pretty much no. Probably the most viral claim.
What worries me is how he says pretty much no, which means a little bit yes. That's scary.
RFK Jr. has made in his years has been tying mercury, specifically Thimerosal, which is a preservative ingredient used in vaccines in the 1990s. He famously wrote an article titled Deadly Immunity that was published in Salon and Rolling Stone magazine when a study revealed that mercury in
wait, I don't want to please, I don't want to dig into this. I don't like digging into medical shit anymore, okay? Because there's just too much drama involved. What does he mean when he says expecting a speedy recovery, but also he was paying for his friend's mom's life support? Can somebody explain that to me? What does that mean? Like, how's your mom doing? Oh, bro, like, they're doing chest compressions and CPR right now. And he's like, oh, fuck, that's awesome. So her heart doesn't even have to work to pump blood, right? It's like, I'm just kidding. I don't mean that in like I'm just saying that's like, I just don't understand. I just don't understand. She's on dialysis. Oh my God, her kidneys must be resting like crazy then, bro. Like, I don't know. Okay.
Childhood vaccines may have caused autism in thousands of kids. The government rushed to conceal the data and to prevent parents from suing drug companies for their role in the epidemic. But the article is so poorly written, it had to be corrected 5 times before finally being retracted.
Jesus.
The editor who published it literally states that it was the worst mistake of her life.
Jesus.
The ironic part was that on July 1st, 1999, 6 years before the article was written, the FDA already sent a letter to all US vaccine manufacturers requesting them to remove Thimerosal as a precautionary measure. Currently, all routine vaccines recommended for children 6 years of age and younger are available in formulations that do not contain Thimerosal. And to reiterate, this was a precaution.
Yeah, I'll be real. If we're injecting anything into a kid that young where their bodies are that fragile, we better be sure as fuck it's not going to fuck them for the rest of their life. I mean, Jesus, that is a very dangerous thing to really be taking lackadaisically.
Cautionary move, as no research has found any increased health risk from presence of the ingredient in vaccines. And let's run the hypothetical and say that he did uncover some sort of link between autism and thimerosal. Then we should have seen.
If bro thinks there's a link between autism and the vaccine, bro should look at the link between autism and having an OnlyFans. Because I swear to God, that's like almost a 1-to-1 ratio.
Autism rates crumble.
Wait, for people that do OnlyFans or for people that subscribe to OnlyFans?
Once thimerosal was removed. But that didn't happen because thimerosal wasn't to blame. And it didn't stop him, by the way, when this article.
What is this? Bro. God damn.